Hey, welcome back to another episode of Cooking Under Quarantine. This is the Meat Loaf edition. So this is something that one of the meatloafs I've made for a long time. Whenever I make it, people always ask me what's in it and what's the recipe. And basically, I took 3 different meatloaf recipes and kind of a la carte picked out what I thought would be better than something else that wouldn't be better, and put it together, and it just seems to work. And there's actually some vegetables in it, so believe it or not, you wouldn't think a meatloaf would have any kind of vegetables in it, but it adds a little flavor. So here's some of the ingredients that we're gonna need today, just so you guys know. So, I got 3 pounds, and I'm making a big one. You can cut this down to what you want. 3 pounds of 85% lean hamburger. I got 1 pound of sausage. It's sweet Italian sausage, not in a casing, just kind of loose because we're gonna mix it together with the hamburger anyways. 2 medium-sized carrots, 3 stalks of celery, 2 eggs, 1.5 onions, a couple cloves of garlic, and some breadcrumbs. And then for spices, we're gonna need onion powder, garlic powder, some parsley, and some black pepper. Typically, you'd add salt, but because of if you weren't using Italian sausage, if you didn't want Italian sausage in there, then you would put salt in. But this is salty enough, so we don't have to add any extra salt. And then for the glaze, we're just using ketchup, honey, brown sugar, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. I'm sorry, the Worcestershire sauce is going to be in here, not in there. For there, we're going to give a little bit of heat. We're going to put in a little bit of cayenne. That's going to give us just a tiny touch of heat on the sauce. It makes a big difference. So I'm going to prep this stuff, and I'm going to come back to step 1 when we're starting to mix it together, and we're going to go from there. Okay, we're back. Step 1. So what I've done is I've chopped up the ingredients. Now a lot of times I'll just hand chop these up because, and if you have kids, you want to get them as fine as you can. My kids are weird. If they see anything they don't like in there, they forego the whole meal. Just one weird color, they're out. So you could put a red pepper in here, but they see that, game over. They're not going to eat it no matter what. So sometimes I like to do this. I like to blend them all up so it almost pulverizes it. So I just chopped up all the ingredients and I just put them in here with my Ninja blender. Oops. And I'm just going to the carrots. So, and I left it all kind of funky. You know, I figure this thing's gonna just tear it up anyways. Make it go mulch. I'm not overwhelming this thing. So we get the onion, the 2 carrots, 3 heads of celery, 1/2 onion, and about 5 cloves of garlic. Put that in there. Some of this stuff is still kind of chunky. Ideally, you probably shouldn't use a butcher knife for this. But just pack it down. At the bottom, it's a puree almost. It's really good. Let's take a look. So a couple little chunks in there, that's fine here and there, but the bulk of it is going to just blend together with everything else. Now I'm just going to toss in this out of the way. Move this bad boy so you guys can get a good idea of what we're trying to do. And now we're just going to toss in the other ingredients. So 3 pounds of 80-85% lean. It's really what you want. And I switched to gloves because I don't get this in my nails. It gets into your pores basically. Just going to mush this around a little bit. Italian sausage. And this was not what I was hoping. I thought it would be a lot more breaking up. So this is going to be, I take a few minutes to kind of break up this big chunk. It's like one huge sausage patty, basically. Exciting, isn't it? Alright. So, and we're going to mush this up anyways. Get a little bit of that in there. We're going to mush this whole thing together. I still have to put in some other ingredients. I'm just trying to get this thing together, fold it. And then I want to get my things, just kind of squeeze it like you. Just trying to make it go through. You're just trying to really make this thing mush together. Piece of carrot, get it broken up fine. Now it doesn't look the prettiest right now, but when this comes together, when you take that first bite, oh man. This is one of the better meatloafs. Now, if I wanted to add more onion taste to this, you can always add an onion soup mix to this mix. This is almost the same mix that you would make if you were making meatballs. Almost. A little bit different. You wouldn't put the carrots and celery in, but the meatballs, the onion, the garlic, the salami, that's fine, and the next step, right? So, I'm going to get my spices grilled so I can take off this bit. Okay. Alright, so we're going to add the spices, right? So we're going to add in basically a teaspoon black pepper, quarter cup parsley, this one's, you know, seasoned to taste, a little onion powder. And that's almost, we can almost use it all up. A little onion powder. A little garlic powder. Worcestershire, whatever you call it. A couple good dabs in there. 2 beaten eggs. And 1 cup, I'm still going to make a cup, 1 cup of breadcrumbs. So in a cup. Like for me, I got breadcrumbs. Ooh, this is panko. This is breadcrumbs. Do about a cup, hefty cup. And that's that for the mixture. All you do is put that thing together. Get a new set of gloves on. I'm going to mush that together, and then I'm going to pat it into a loaf. And you want to get a good sized pan. The bigger the better. So I have a bunch of these glass pans. This is the biggest. I think I have 5. This is the biggest one. What that's going to allow is to get that loaf, not have a big loaf like high. You want to get it flat as you can, because the more space you can have for the ketchup sauce, like the sweet sauce, that's what the kids love, like that sweet taste. So it makes them eat it. You know, they still like, it's like a big hamburger or something. But with that ketchup glaze on it, the more low you can get it and flat across the pan you can get it, the more square footage of that ketchup you can get on top of that loaf. And when they get a slice, they get more of that ketchup into that slice. They like it better. So I'm going to pat this. I'll pat it into a loaf. I'll show you the finished product, and then we'll start on the sauce. And one of the things I didn't take, one of the ingredients I didn't take out, there is, it really depends on the level of stickiness. Now, if you guys watch my rib episode, how I made barbecue sauce, one of the secret ingredients I use is jelly. Sometimes I bring that jelly out into this recipe as well, because for the glaze up top, the brown sugar, the honey, the ketchup, the cayenne, a little bit of jelly gives you that real sticky on the front of it. So when it has like a sweet, sticky taste to it, and there's the cayenne pepper gives a little bit of heat, not too much that the kids wouldn't like it. And again, you can take the cayenne out of it if you don't want it. Yeah, that's not required. But of all 3 recipes, they all had a little bit of cayenne, so I used it. I don't mind it at all. Anyways, I'll see you next step. And we're back. So basically I formed all that into this. Doesn't look super appetizing yet. And you can see across the top, let me go, it's lower than the glass. And basically I have a finger's distance between the glass and the loaf. And what you're gonna see when this cooks is there's gonna be like a level of grease in here. So you wanna not have it sit directly in if you can avoid it. So that's ready to go. 2 things with this. I can let that sit in the refrigerator for anywhere between half an hour and 5 hours and let it just kind of come together and set up on its own. Or we can stick it in the oven. We're gonna go with plan B and stick it in the oven. Sometimes in the morning I will prep this with the topping and everything, put it in the fridge, and like 3:30 call the kids, tell them to stick it in the oven, or come home, pop it in the oven depending on what the day brings. The next step for us is to make the sauce. Now, the topping. Some people put this together in a bowl. Raise this up a little bit. Some people will put this together in a bowl and just whisk it and put it on. Because there's so many different kinds of sugars in here, I like to heat it up a little bit, let them blend together. So we're gonna need ketchup. You're gonna need a good amount of ketchup. I would say at least a full cup. Okay. As far as the honey goes, you're gonna want, I'd say 1/8 of a cup to 1/4 cup. Jelly is easy. Actually, let's do the flour first. I'm sorry. Brown sugar. Brown sugar, same thing. 1/8 of a cup to 1/4 of a cup. You can't get this wrong. I mean, I guess you could get it wrong, but most of this is going to cook down. Jelly, just two tablespoons. Good sized ones. I mean. And as far as the cayenne pepper, I got the wrong one. That is paprika. And that's not going to do us any good. I need the cayenne. There it is. All right. Good thing I became prepared. So this is where the heat comes from. And you can omit this, or you can put it in. If you put it in, you want to be light with it. Just a couple quick shakes. I mean, that wouldn't even be half a teaspoon. And then I'm just going to put this on the oven until all the clumps come out. So I'll cook that down, get all the clumps of the brown sugar out, the jelly, let it emulsify, come together, not burn it. I'll cook them out. Right now it's on high, but I'm gonna cut it down to low so I see some kind of action happening there, and then we'll put it on top of the meatloaf. Okay, with the next step, we're gonna glaze this meatloaf. And basically what I'm gonna do is just kind of pour this. I got a spoon with me. I'm gonna pour the sauce on. Ideally, it's better to let it cool since it's going to go right in the oven. It's okay. I just want to make sure that I'm getting it everywhere it needs to go. That just doesn't run on the sides. It's going to run on the sides anyways. And the cooler you let this get before you put it on, the less likely it's going to run because it's going to kind of coagulate a little bit. But it's okay if it runs a little bit. Because it's going to bake on everywhere it goes anyways. Just make sure we spread it, trying to be as even as we can. Burn the entire meatloaf. Just leave a big sort of pool bit on the top. And the flatter you get that, the more this stays, because again, this is going to glaze up. Now, one thing that I didn't show you when I put this in the pan that I remembered later was I sprayed olive oil on this pan, the pan, because obviously anytime you get anything that has sugar in it cooking in an oven, it has a tendency to caramelize. I've tried, if I use a metal pan, put tinfoil down, but sometimes because the grease is so much, because remember the hamburger has 85% lean, but still 15 fat that's going to come out of that. That's going to condense down, and the sausage is a ton of fat, and it's all going to come out. So ideally, even if you use a flat pan like a regular oven pan, and you put tinfoil down, it's going to get underneath it a little bit and create a problem. So I usually use a glass pan. And so a lot of times you say, like, you know, what do you have with this? So a lot of times, if we have the time, I'll make mashed potatoes and gravy. So homemade mashed potatoes and gravy. One of the easy things you can make, that what we're going to have tonight with this, is this. So 2 boxes of this, and these are easy to make. The scalloped potatoes, you know, each box is 1 3/4 cup boiling water, so 2 boxes is going to be, you know, 3.5 cups of water, hot water. Each one has 3/4 cup of milk, so that's going to be a cup and a half of milk. And then each box is 2 tablespoons of butter, so 4 tablespoons of butter. You put it in another casserole just like this, and you cook it in the lower oven. This is going to take 2.5 hours to 2.5 to 3 hours, depending on it, at 350. That's what we're going to put it in right now at. But it's all by eye, so you have to get a look at it and go, okay, at 2.5 hours, it's pretty much all cooked. But you want to make sure that the glaze is going, everything looks good, it's coming together. Sometimes if I look in the oven and there's a lot of grease coming out of there, I'll take the meatloaf out of the oven and try to drain it without letting it slide itself and lose any of that ketchup goodness on the top, and then put it back in the oven. So this is going to go in right now at 350. And that's as easy as that is. I mean, that literally took 15, maybe 20 minutes of prep time, putting it together, and then you just stick it in the oven. So it's super easy. It really has, I don't know what it is about meatloaf, but when you take a bite of it, a good meatloaf, you're like, you remember when you were a kid and your mom made that, maybe it stirs up some feelings, I don't know. But for me, I'm like, oh man, this is good meatloaf. It just remember, it's kind of a happy food, I guess, a soothing food. There's a word for it, I don't remember. But anyways, when you guys talk to me next, or when we see you next, we'll be taking it out of the oven to get a look of it, and we'll go from there. You see that's cooking. I actually had to drain this once already, but you can see the juice that's in there. In fact, there's the bowl over there. You can see it. Let me zoom in on it. That's how much I already pulled out already. Then we have this. So before I plate it, I'll drain that grease out as well before you put it on a plate. You're gonna take it out of there. We made it. Final step. We're here. So the meatloaf is done. I took it out and I let it rest. As you can see, I let it rest, get out of the juices out, drained everything out of there. You saw in the oven last. I let it rest for about 5 or 10 minutes. I did the same thing with the potatoes. I didn't do a video on making the potatoes because you can kind of follow instructions on those things, but just a rule of thumb when you're making those. So this is the Betty Crocker version. It says 1 3/4 cup boiling water, so it's pretty easy to figure that out. Here's what you do though. With the 2 tablespoons of butter you put in, you want to put the potatoes in, you want to put the hot water in, you want to put the butter and cut it up as small as you can, and move it around until the butter melts 100%. Then you want to put in the pack of cheese they give you here. It's like powdered cheese. You get a pack of cheese, you put that in, and you whisk it in, whisk it in, whisk it in. Get it so there's no clumps at all. If you have clumps, it's going to suck. Then you add the milk at the very end. And for me, personally, my own touch, I add a little bit of bacon bits, and I add half a pack of cheese in there of regular, just like shredded cheese. And you can use provolone, you can use cheddar, you can use mozzarella, whatever you like. Taco, whatever you're going to do. This is what you want it to look like. It almost has like a burnt kind of edge to it. And the other part of this, you have to let that sit as well, so it coagulates a little bit. So let's plate this bad boy up and see how she looks. So obviously meatloaf, we made this. So there's no really cutting on the plate. You only need a fork to cut the meatloaf. Obviously, it's not real like beef pot roast or something like that, where you need a knife to cut into it. And I serve this with scalloped potatoes. Again, I told you in the video, you could do mashed potatoes and gravy, you know, whatever you want. I like this as far as the meal goes. And just the corn and the steam fresh in the microwave. That's it. I mean, that's a meal for a family. I mean, this whole thing, that was $3. If you add the cost of the milk and the cheese in there, let's say another $2, so $5 for the cheesy potatoes. Those are 2 for $3, so $1.50 for the corn. And then the meat itself, I think I made this whole meatloaf for $16. So this is under $20, and that feeds 7 people. You're not gonna get that in a restaurant. And take a look at it. I mean, that is, I don't want to brag, but it's pretty goddamn good looking. That's a nice, and it tastes, it's amazing the way it tastes. I had to cut a small piece up and tested it. It's good. So make this if you're in the house one day, a cold day. In the Northeast where we're quarantined with each other, it's cold up here today. This isn't a summer meal. This is, I mean, they could make it in the summer, but no one wants the hot oven around the summer. But a day like today, it's a perfect meal. It's damp, it's raining out, it's cold. Meatloaf, corn, scalloped potatoes. I'll see you the next one. Enjoy it. Your kids are going to love it.